Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Grow Your Path to Wellness. If you missed it last week, it was our first official episode. I know Tommy had joined us before, introduced it, and then last week was our first official episode with a guest joining Tommy. So we had Nico and Tommy and talked more about men's mental health. And so make sure you go back, and we're going to have those about once a month. So tune in. You don't want to miss that series. And then we'll have the chakra series coming up sometime soon with Lisa Schaefer. We have all kinds of new series that's going. But today we have Ryann King with us, and we're going to talk all about internal healings and different techniques on how to release emotional attachment within your body. So welcome, Ryann.
Hello. It's good to be here.
Welcome, Ryann. We are so thankful that you're willing to give us the space. And I know, this can be the first time that people get on this type of platform and share their story and talk to people. So we're thankful that you allowed it to be, us for a big space like that. Can you give us a little background, introduction? Like, who are you? What are you doing now? What's your history, all that stuff?
Well, I lead in yoga now. Like, I teach yoga and instruct yoga now, and I do a little bit of energy work too. I like to do that. I'm a former social worker in the schools. I wanted to be a counselor, but I had a hard time with the statistics and math, so I took philosophy instead, and then I titled my degree Community Development and Social Advocacy. And I was having a hard time getting a job in the social work field because of letters. I did not have letters. So I got hired on at the schools, and I worked with kids. And it's so funny how we have this idea of what we're supposed to do, but the universe leads us in where we're supposed to go. And I've always worked in the schools. I worked as a daycare provider. I worked since 18, just always worked with children. And but I was working with kids with trauma and behavior, and I've always been very sensitive to emotions in the body and just can connect. And I was helping to use these tools for these kids to help with their emotions and things that I had learned through a series of events of suppressed emotion, not feeling, not knowing boundaries, not really being authentic in my own right, and just going with what I'm told and how to be. And so I just so that's what I'm all about, is just living our most authentic, real self, what is true for us, connecting to those emotions in the body, because basically our emotions they're just that, but they are the biochemical awareness of how we feel and how we act. Like, our mind can tell us those are the electric magnet. It's harder to train the mind than it is to come into the awareness of the body, but first coming into the awareness of the body, then we can go within the mind. So I'm just really passionate about how does it feel in the body,
Ryann, can you say that again? Because I had it and then I lost it as I kept listening. Emotions are the biochemical
awareness in the body. So when we feel, well, because when we, if we feel anxious or something, we'll feel that in the stomach. We'll feel the heart. It's what is this trigger of making me feel anxious? And then we just feel into that first, and then we can train the mind to slow down, but first feeling it within the body. And they're always changing. The emotions are changing every day, in an hour a day.
Oh my gosh, I love this.
And as a therapist, and I do a lot of mind-body work as well, and so I completely hear and understand what you're saying, but I hadn't heard it in that term before, and I'm going to latch into that and use it now, so thank you.
Yeah. That's a good little summary. So, Ryann, I know, well, you kind of touched on it, and I heard you say like you just felt like the universe kind of led you to doing the kind of work that you're doing now, rather than what you said that you thought that you wanted to do when you set out, like in the schooling aspect of it. So, do you mind sharing, or maybe that might have been already kind of what you touched on, but why the topic on, and like, how did you really become passionate about that? Was it always something that you were passionate about, or did you find it, some people had their own experience, which you don't have to share if you're not comfortable, but so just why the topic overall today?
Well, I did have a personal experience that kind of led to everything. And really, honestly, I've always been sort of a spiritual seeker, but I dove into things without knowing what they were and without asking questions and with full intention. So, and when you ask, you are given. And so I was given an immense amount of wisdom and knowledge, but I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know. And so I'm learning about the community, coming into the community that knows. I had a lot of, I will say, most of my life I lived within that depressive sort of energy, that lower vibrational energy of past and depressive sort of. I'm not so much of anxious thinker, so I don't think about the future. So when you are in more of a depressive, you think more of past. I can happily say I'm no longer living in the past, I'm present, and I trust the future. But I had a lot of anger come up from that depressive energy. So the next step from that depressive energy, that lower, is anger. And that anger is, like I heard it said, is untapped potency. That's your fire. That's the thing that makes you take action. And it did. That
She's like,
take action. And then it just sort of simmers out and it dissolves and it becomes something beautiful. And how you use that anger to create that action.
oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I could just like sit in that.
I was literally going to say the same thing, Kelsi. I was like, we just sit in that for a minute.
I'm like, wow, that's a powerful one.
As you were talking about like where you feel it in your body, my mind kind of went to like Louise Hay work. I'm not sure. Okay, yeah. So like kind of, I'm just piggybacking on Kelsi's question, but can you talk more on like why it's important for the internal healing, like when we have internal illness or things that kind of present?
Oh yeah. Well, definitely when we have, like, with that internal, with the gut, like, so our gut and our brain are definitely correlated together, and they know what we need to do. When we're not in tuned with that and we're not listening to what our gut is telling us, it can create that almost like toxic energy of just like batting together. And that's where we get that core issues, or basically the worry, the ulcers, the heart palpitations can lead, disease in the body is just untapped or just suppressed emotion that was never released. It was never fully felt. It just created that disease, that negativity. I just see it as cells bunched up together, just creating that toxic energy. And so definitely allowing the breath into coming into stillness and almost like directing our energy to those tight places and expanding it out. I like to do a lot of guided visualization of the internal organs and like breathing into it and releasing. There's some toning sounds also for each organ that you can use. And that's a really nice thing, like the shh is for the heart, and you do a sweeping sensation. Shh, the choo, choo, choo is for the kidneys, and there's just little tools to use to help release those blockages. Using tuning forks for the vibration, different organs, parts of the organs.
Oh my gosh. How is this only one episode, Kelsi?
I know. I was like, we need her. I need Ryann, come with me.
Yeah. I like to say, I've been saying, I'm like, I got a van, I got a plan, get in, man. Like, let's just go on tour, you know, and tell people, like, you know, we can heal ourselves. We just have to be honest with ourselves, like fully honest.
Yes.
When I worked in, I recently finally, I'm all on my own now, running my own business, and I just let go of my last little latch on, but my last role was in primary care offices, you know, kind of meeting them where they were, people that would never go into a community mental health, or helping people with like physical health management. And I just go back, I can still so vividly see these electronic health records, these medical records, and I would log in for my appointment and my first time meeting them and get ready to do an assessment, and I would see the reason for referral, and then I would see
a list,
like 20, 30, you know, just different ailments, right? And I'm where you are, Ryann. I'm like, what happened to you? What emotions are stuffed? What haven't you processed, right? And then as you get to know people, you realize what's really going on. And it's so life-changing. Now, I've heard, okay, I need to ask you about these sounds, because when you started talking about those sounds, I thought you were maybe going to talk about like, because I've listened to like chakra sound healing, like a certain amount of hertz or whatever, but these are different. So tell me about these.
Well, I know that there's sounds for, like, there's so many, they're called BJs, BIJAS. Like, they're just the sounds, but the toning sounds, there's a toning sound for the spleen, and I actually wrote a couple of them down. There's a series, I've done a series before where we do certain exercises. So it's like we're sweeping energy while using a sound, or like the with the I don't know. I guess
what does the sound do? How does it correlate, or what is the sound itself doing as you're channeling and like visualizing the energy? What does the sound add to the visualization?
It's just a sweeping. It's just the vibration of the sound is what's tapping into that eternal organ and just helping sweep and release any little stagnant energy. And I will say, I used to, with the emotions connected in the body, I used to have really bad asthma as a kid. I just had asthma growing up until my 20s, early, even mid 30s, and with that, depression. So lungs hold on to our grief, and also the heart. And I think I sort of came here just, you know, in that sense of past. I was holding on to something. I can honestly say I no longer have depression or asthma. I have not used an inhaler, and it's been a few years. I used to be hospitalized for it, you know. I used to get really depressive episodes, and I no longer have those things.
By doing these things yourself, like
with
your, and that vulnerability, and saying like, okay, like that's what the, like, as like you said, it sounded like you were like, I was handed a bunch of, you know, this information and this knowledge and this wisdom, and then it was like you had to then be vulnerable yourself and say like, I have all of this, and I can tell that it is touching something that I need it to.
Yes. When the anger came up, that was a lot. The anger was a lot, and I actually had to go out into nature, and I would hold space, and I am ready to hold space for anybody that wants to do this, but to go out in nature and just get wild with it and just slam, you know what I mean? Like tribal release, where sometimes I turn on, if I'm leading in something, I do a little bit of talk therapy, and then like all of a sudden I turn on like some hardcore music, and we're like, let's go. And even like clothes become ripped off, you know what I mean? And it's like throwing it down. And it almost becomes like this cathartic release where then all of a sudden you almost tap into that inner child. Then after that anger, you have someone there who is safe with you, and you tap into that inner child where you feel validated and safe, and you released that emotion. You're able to be vulnerable, and then connecting to etheric in a sense, you can see where that core wound was from.
You're like, can we be best friends? I think I found more people that are my people. Like, I want to come hang out in the woods with you and just throw down. And then you said inner child, and I was like,
yes,
I do inner child so much. Time. Like, yes.
Yeah.
I do a lot with the. Oh no, this is like so much with me, and I, you know, where we just live in general, you know, having access to that kind of green space in the nature, and I mean, there's nature everywhere, but I love that you are doing that with people and holding that space and being that. That's very powerful for us, and just in the wellness field in general, to be that, to hold that, create and hold that safe space and be that safe person for somebody to actually go where they need to go, rather than kind of going through day to day and, you know, no, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm sad, but I'm fine. You know, I got all of the stuff that I have to do, and they never have that opportunity or that safe people or place to do that.
Yeah. We have to have a temper tantrum at some point, but we have to do it in like a fun, creative way where it's not childish, but it's like empowering.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And giving the space where, because I feel like we are, I mean, as humans and in our society, I feel like we are, I think I've said this every episode, but we're programmed, you know, and that can be that inner child that in us that all gets suppressed by whether it's we're an adult now, or we have all of these responsibilities in our society, or we're not supposed to pay attention to our body because, you know, that it doesn't flow with kind of the way that society expects us to flow.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of going against the grain, but it's taking you somewhere that's different kind of healing than what people typically have access to.
Yeah.
Are you doing like this is totally like, are you doing your own like classes? I know, like, yeah, you're all over the place, right?
I'm just traveling. I'm a traveling yogi right now. I go to 3 great places. Somerset at Native Yoga, Fierce Yoga in Pataskala, and Inner Wisdom Wellness in Logan. I really love the places that I go. Anywhere I'm able to go. I was invited to the Tranquility Salt Cave in Worthington. If anybody would like to come up and do something in the cave, like, I'm so excited. I am so blessed to get invited to beautiful spaces, and I just want to take people along with me. You know what I mean? Like, let's just go.
Worthington is that by Columbus?
I think it's in Worthington area. It's in Columbus, Dilmont.
You're there.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We should both go. Now I need details.
I've wanted to go to a salt cave for so long, but now there's like all extra healing energy in there. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. I just had to ask because I was like, I know I'm on social media, like we're friends and of course. And I was like, I feel like you are doing so many things, but I hear you saying, like, you know, to the core, this is the type of work that I am very passionate about, but just all of the things, and I'm so proud of you. You deserve it.
Thank you, Kelsi. And I'm really proud of you. I am very proud of you. You guys are doing a great, what you're putting out there, just a conversation, opening up the conversation to something bigger, to something deeper. It's due time in this time that we're in.
Yes. All right. So, Ryan, all of this is amazing. And I know whenever I reached out to you, a topic that you mentioned that I had never heard about was the Kundalini energy and how our core being is without emotion. Can you kind of expand on that for us a little bit? Because I'm like so intrigued by it.
Well, if you think about it, when you come into the awareness that everything around you is just sort of like the circling energy of emotion, or just like energy, action, emotion, and then you yourself are just stillness, and you don't necessarily react to, the milk being spilled or the phone ringing off the hook that you have to answer, and all of these things, and you're just completely at peace within your being, knowing that that is that central awareness. And that's kind of where we're hoping to obtain to. And it starts, I believe, like from that Kundalini energy, acknowledging that she is rising up the spine. So she does start as like this coiled up snake at the base of her spine. And something, usually it can be an event in our life. It can even be an accident that happens. It can be just something wakes it up. And that's actually how my journey sort of started. I was diving into these different things. I got Reiki attuned out of the blue with a friend. She was like, "Hey, do you want to go get attuned for Reiki?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. I don't know what that is, but let's go do that."
Sure.
And I did. And that's a ceremony, that's a special thing, but we all have that Reiki energy. Like, that is us. It is us.
Mm-hmm.
But being attuned is, you take
Right.
that seriously. I did not. I didn't know what it was at the first time. I also was doing a 6-week course of Kundalini, which was intense. And my teacher is an amazing teacher. Robin Harris Cummings, she's an amazing Kundalini teacher here in town. She's the only one I know in this area that teaches Kundalini. But she is amazing. Spirit is with her all the time, and she is very intentional. I went out that practice intentional. And I even saw at the end a giant green lotus flower hovering above my head. And so I went with that with the intention. And then I was asked to perform something, and fear got in my way. So then all of a sudden I had an accident. Like, it was a simple twist, and I hurt my spine. And all of a sudden I was going through these waves of like just receiving messages. All of these things were happening to my body. I did not understand the energy that was being ignited in my body. So I'm very keen on speaking about this, because when it ignites, it's going to hit these blocks. It's going to hit these blocks of emotions, these things that we have suppressed. And that is why I'm so passionate about sharing in our emotions and allowing for those emotions, because otherwise it's going to cause harm. It's going to cause tremendous like heartache, mind break, like. And so my journey has started with diving into something I had no idea what I was diving into, with full intention. And along that way, I've learned a little bit of things. So just to help make others' journey a little bit smoother, because mine was like a tidal wave,
Yeah, look at you. So I hear you. Listen to that. Like you said, like that energy is, so it's there, but then things happen that you like activate it in a very intense way, and it's like you're passionate about helping people, like learning, like, okay, if I don't know if is the right word, if we all experience it, or if it's like just like an activating event, like.
I think everybody at CERN, I think if you call upon it, it will be activated. I think it's intentionally what we want. Mm-hmm. If we want to, because that Kundalini from the bottom, she's traveling all the way up to the mind. And this is where the consciousness, it's basically that Shakti and Shiva sort of energy, where they have to meet and they have to travel that long distance before you can kind of fully come into that full awareness of just peace and not feeling. You have to feel it all to heal it all. And she's got a long journey and she's strong, you know, and he's just waiting up there, waiting to meet her, to have her travel that journey.
Gosh, I
But
like all
it
of these, like, mental images in my head of this now.
Yeah.
How would you relate? Something's just coming to my mind. How would you relate that type of awakening or overwhelming emotion to like a trauma response?
Oh, well, honestly, with a trauma response, I believe it has been recorded, like, because I looked at that. Somebody having a Kundalini awakening, not understanding what is going on, it can send someone to the hospital or the psych ward.
Absolutely.
Because you don't know what's going on with your body, how to communicate your emotions in the body, what is going on with the minds. A lot of even a lot of psychic awareness happens when that is ignited. And we all are energy beings. We all are able to do energy work. We are all psychic beings. We are all knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And when she is woken and she's traveling and we are receiving these messages that we may not have had that conversation about or that awareness of, it can make us go crazy.
It's like you're helping people learn. Do you find yourself often working with individuals, and I'm assuming the answer to this is both of this parts of this question, but individuals coming to you experiencing that activation of the Kundalini energy, or do you find yourself teaching people in more of a proactive way, like teaching them about it, and so that way they know what to do with those things when, because I'm like you said, I think we all, it's not an if, it's when. And what it looks like for each person, I'm sure, is different. But
I definitely think I'm doing both. With holding space for the classes, I talk a lot about, definitely the straight spine, the erect spine, energy coming from, like, we'll breathe through the sits bones, coming up through the root, just having that strong spine, just the energy. And we all collectively in the room can feel where that energy is rising up to. When it comes to individuals who have already been activated, that's where a lot of that emotional release and connecting to that root cause and just holding space. And oh my gosh, my greatest joy is like seeing someone, witnessing them opening up their psychic abilities and their intuitive gifts. Like, it is amazing. Like, oh my gosh, my heart just, like, it's like, you are a psychic medium, you know that, right? Like, it is so amazing. And I'm just like, I just want to grab hands, you know what I mean? Like, we've done this work, we're doing this work. We are
I need to be in a collective room, and I need to experience this now. Like, I need to. It's happening. So.
Yeah. I could see it on your face, Ryann. Like, as you were explaining that experience, I could just tell it was so visceral for you. Yeah. Like, it's such a connecting energy point.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Maybe we need to turn you into a series.
I know, we're got so many.
So tell us about, I brought up Louise Hay, but you mentioned wanting to talk about, is it Esther Hicks?
Oh.
No scale?
Yes. I mean, my teacher, Sue Vaughn, she's my meditation teacher. She's a Reiki master also. She, and she holds space. But she always taught about Esther Hicks and the emotional scale and, like, what emotion. It's kind of how we talked about that awareness of where we are at, like acknowledging, where am I at right now? Right now I feel joyful. And you can never, you can go above or below, but you always want to go above. Like, right now I'm content. What's above content? How am I going to reach that? and just acknowledging where you are at right now and allowing yourself to go above.
Oh my gosh. I do so much with my clients, like teaching them how do you tune into the present moment. And they're like, I'm in a session with you. Like, I'm here at my appointment. Like, that's where I'm at. I said, no. What are you feeling? How do we actually tune into these things in this present moment? So is this like my therapist, the formal part of my brain wants to ask, are there actual concrete like levels or things on this scale, or is it kind of more of a broad concept type of scale? Like, where am I at? And then asking yourself what's above that. Does that make sense?
Yes, it is a broad, I'd say a broad, and there's, I believe, and I wish I had the list with me right now. For some reason, 27 is coming to mind of the emotions, but that may be wrong. But just connecting to that. A good tool I use, Kelsi, with coming into an awareness where I'm at right now. Whenever I'm starting to feel anxious, I all of a sudden just the thymus glands right here. It's a little left of center, and you just start to rub it just a little bit. If you just connect to that, you're connecting to like that deep internal heart. That is where it is said that's where that cave of the heart is, just right there. Just start touching the thymus gland right there. And then you can even start to maybe like 3 times a day for 30 seconds. And it is said to help with autoimmune, allergies, break up blockages. It's working with the T cells, so you're just tapping there. It has really great benefits, and it really does connect you straight back to the body when your mind is sort of going everywhere and your emotions are going everywhere. It's a nice mind like a tool right here.
For those people that are on audio, like maybe they're not watching video, Ryan, can you like verbally explain where that's at?
The thymus gland, yes. It's just in the center of the chest, and it's a little left of center. You'll sort of feel like an energetic sensation if you go to your sternum and then move your fingers a little bit left of center. And you'll feel almost like a little sensation there. And
I would feel tenderness.
Yeah, and it is tender, and it will be tender tapping on it. And when it's tender, that's when you sort of should tap on it. It's just like you want to connect to that. But it's almost like an intimate sensation to go there, and then just to really just start tapping. It does help. It helps me, I know.
Thank you for that. Okay.
I've heard I've heard that before, and I don't know if it was in my yoga classes or another energy worker I was talking with, or when I was going to Reiki, or who knows where I heard it, but I've heard that many times before. And I've heard there might be a relation to like how tender it is with the amount of healing that needs done, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
She's like, yes.
And maybe it's less tender when there's less stress or less emotional processing, maybe.
Yes. That's what I have heard, and that's what I've noticed within myself.
That's amazing. And I know, so, okay, yes, as we all have figured out, we can probably talk about this all day or for days. And I thank you so much for taking time and joining us and sharing this information. And like we tell everybody, but you're always welcome to always come back, even if it's the same topic, but just other concepts within it. But I know you mentioned maybe ending today before we completely wrap up teaching. You've already kind of given a handful of exercises, but actual concrete, simple exercises for our community, our listeners, our viewers to use themselves.
Teaching any, well, definitely just the thymus tapping, that really does help. There's also another one, the belly breathing. I've been doing this recently, and it's so interesting. So as you're breathing in and you allow, so it's almost like a reverse exercise with how your breath expands. So on the inhalation, your belly will expand out. And on the exhalation, you're pulling that prana into your navel center, into your core, and you're really pulling it in really tight. Just because the navel center, that solar plexus, that's the energy center. That's where our food, healthier digestion, healthier navel center, we're able to have more energy. But doing that belly breath of inhaling and allowing the belly to fully expand out, and then exhaling, pulling that belly in really, really tight, contracting it in really tight. And then slow little pelvic. If you're on the floor, you can do slow little pelvic tilts as you do this. So you're really working with the energy from the root and really pulling it in. It's just a really slow, nice practice, but it is very igniting. And then you just release. You just allow yourself to release and just feel that energy.
We're just gonna both like start melting into our chair. You mentioned my instinct is to take put my hand there. Like when you said navel, like I didn't even think. I just put my hand on my stomach.
Yeah. Well, that is the core, the solar plexus. That is the part of the tree, basically. So if you think about the lower chakras, we have the root and the sacral. That is tribal and communal. That is all about just coming together. That's tribal and communal. Once we get to that navel center, it is about I. It all of a sudden becomes about I, but that's also where the ego is, the ego is the bottom too, but where we're connecting from that higher self. And it's like branching up through the upper chakras and it's going up, but that navel center that's where the tree begins.
Mm-hmm. What came to mind, Kelsi? I know you said you could just I
know.
I feel so safe.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about your energy, Ryann, that is just so safe and centering and grounding. So thank you for that. And yes. I hope that's felt through, the video or the audio when people are listening. I'm sure it will be, but I've never met you in real life and I already feel so safe with you. So I just wanted to make sure you knew that.
Oh, thank you so much.
Is there I know Kelsi already asked something of you, but I'm going to ask another thing. Is there any mantra or saying that you want to leave our listeners with to kind of carry on before we close out?
Honestly, be here now has been really resonating very deeply lately. Just be here now. It, Ram Dass, it's been centering. Just be here now.
I got the chills, so.
I know.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Ryann.
Collect yourself. Close out. Collect yourself.
I know.
Ryann, thank you so much for being here again. Like we said, you're welcome back anytime. I think this is so needed. I think oftentimes we get stuck in the medical model of sorry, I was gonna say healing, but it's not the medical model of treatment, and a lot of times these alternative healing really is the actual medicine. And so I thank you for coming to share space with us and sharing it with our audience, because I think that's so important.
I appreciate it. And I will say, with the social work background and then with this, I kind of look at it as Maslow's hierarchy of needs with the chakras. Because it's exactly, the rainbow effect and what the root and it's just the humanistic approach to the body and etheric, emotional, all of the bodies
Yeah, and Lisa definitely, that's doing our chakra series, absolutely already talked about that in the first episode when we decided to make it a series. She's also a social worker, but she just became Reiki master over the pandemic, and she's been making a lot of those connections too. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, I can't sit in this beautiful space all day, even though I want to. So thank you everyone for listening. Next week we are going to have another, we're going to be talking about kind of trauma again, but how that correlates with addiction. We're going to have Evan, he's a therapist who we met on TikTok, coming to talk about how trauma and addiction often correlate and some other things that might come out of that. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And as always, please comment, give us your feedback. If you have any questions on any of these topics for Ryann or any of our other guests, we will be sure to get that to you and get the feedback. So thank you all and have a beautiful week.
Yes, thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.